Hello and welcome to this week's look at action and stunts on film and television. Thanks very much for joining me once again. It's not Friday. I appreciate that. We've had some technical issues here at Orty Towers and consequently the gremlins were out, but we've managed to sort that and we are back. Unfortunately, the topic for this particular week isn't a particularly happy one, as last week the sad news reached us of two very important women in the stunt business sadly leaving us. Jeannie Epper passed away, as did Denise Ryan from the UK. Jeannie Epper, of course, from the United States. A great shame. I mean, admittedly, the amount of work that the two of them have done together, Jeannie particularly, if you look at it from her perspective over there, I mean, the word pioneer is used quite often these days, as is the word legend, but it does make an awful lot of sense when you look at the volume of work, you look at the quality of work, and you look at the way in which she as an individual has been able to inspire many, many, many women to be in the business. There aren't enough women anyway. I mean, that's very clear. Even now, for the stunt business. And the pair of them, Jeannie in the States and Denise over here in the United Kingdom, managed to find a way of being able, not only through their work, by showing everybody, look, this is what we do, this is how it can be done, but being able to explain it. And that's massively important. Being able to talk to people, talk to individuals, talk to students, talk to individuals who really have a passion to be involved in the business, and to be able to talk to them and say, look, this is really what goes on, and if you need a helping hand, well, I'm here. You can always talk to me, or you might need some advice in connection with this or with that, or maybe there's a situation whereby you can't approach the stunt coordinator for whatever reason, so you can come to me. All of that is hugely important. Jeannie, of course, if you remember the show, there was a thing called Double Dare, where she was responsible for helping Zoe Bell go from the other side of the world to come over here, and there was training exercises and watching her go along and up the ladder towards working with Quentin Tarantino. So all of that taken into consideration, it's a great loss for all of the industry. The outpouring of grief over the last week or so has been remarkable. The amount of people who have been touched by Jeannie and Denise in connection with work during their careers is abundant. The outpouring of grief there is very, very prominent indeed. And I think that, as I say, this we had a little podcast there last week in connection with this. I'm just going to put a few bits and pieces together here to maybe give you an idea of what these ladies were capable of. Jeannie was, back in the 1970s, many of you will remember, she was Linda Carter's double on a very famous television series entitled Wonder Woman. They made a movie out of that, that was quite successful too. But Jeannie was the original double on this particular series, and one of the correspondents, a very famous correspondent from the United States, Dan Rather, managed to catch up with her and asked her a little bit about the business and about being a family person, and looking at how this extraordinary line of work fell into her lap. And it didn't fall into her lap at all. She'd worked very hard at it because her father was one of those pioneers that brought everyday stunt work to an everyday audience. So we're going to have a look at that first, and then there is a little bit in connection with Denise Ryan, a very important member of the British stunt community, the British Stunt Register. She joined in 1982 and had been working prior to that in a capacity as a very fine swimmer and springboard and highboard diver, and was asked by a production crew on an Anne Margaret television special if she would do a particular dive during a musical number from a high diving board, which she did. And one of them said, "Here, do you know, you should be in stunts, you know, you should be in the business. There aren't many women about." And at that time, she was dead right. There weren't. And there still aren't. I mean, there are women, but there's still never enough. Back then, Denise was flying the flag and managed to join in 1982. And we've got a few clips, and it's not enough. It genuinely isn't enough, but copyright on many of these is very, very difficult to get hold of. So I've been quite lucky to find these bits. They're not great examples, but they will give you an example of what goes on. And hopefully you'll see, you'll be looking out for her in future episodes of television and film that you may see, so we'll catch up with that. So let's start with Jeannie Epper, and here is her little part from the documentary.
Was that fun?
Yes, it was fun, except that since he's my idol, I've always just worshipped him. I just always think he's great. I didn't want to hurt him. I had to elbow him in the stomach, and my younger sister, Stephanie, has to kick him in the, well, you know where.
In a vital place.
Right. And it was so funny because she said, "If I miss Joanne, I'll never speak to me again." But she didn't miss. I come back later in the film, a hooker again, but now I'm a very cleaned up hooker with red hair, and I'm a fancy lady of the night. And as they're all walking into the saloon to have a drink, he grabs me and puts his arm around me and starts kissing me. Well, his little girlfriend comes out and she shoots a gun at us. I'd jump on a horse and ride out of town.
Pretty good line of work for most women to have to kiss and be kissed by Paul Newman.
I was so nervous I couldn't believe it. My stunt didn't even bother me, but kissing Paul Newman had me totally unnerved.
And 1, 2.
Generally, though, the demands of her work are physical. Surprisingly, she does nothing very different from the things the rest of us might do to keep in shape. Timing, agility, and judgment. Those are the talents, she says, are the most important. And she says it was her childhood, filled with dancing, tree climbing, and rodeoing, that prepared her for stunts like this fall she took for an actress in an episode of Barnaby Jones.
This gentleman jumps out from behind a door and puts his hand over my mouth, drags me over to the side, and throws me over a balcony.
That was no gentleman. Were you frightened with this stunt?
No, I wasn't frightened with the stunt. It was just, no, I wasn't frightened. Something sort of comes over you, a sense of peace, a sense of you know you can do it. You know you're not going to get killed doing it. The couple of times that I've been hurt in the business, I knew I was going to get hurt.
Tell me about that.
Oh, once I got caught on fire. I was doing a fight inside of a building. They dropped this burning beam down on top of me. I was pinned underneath it, and I actually caught on fire. It burnt my hair off. And it's funny, just before I did it, right after the director hollered action, I knew something was going to happen. I wasn't quite sure what.
You didn't get that calm feeling that things were going to go well?
No. And I got hurt. And this happened once before.
What was the other time?
I was doing a fight with an actress, and she had to take a picture off the wall. And it was one of those, like a velvet picture with a Mexican heavy frame, big frame. And it was a huge picture. I had told her about 4 times, make sure when you take that picture, take a step before you hit me with it. And I knew she was going to hit me with the edge of the frame. I split my head open. Cameramen loved it. My blonde hair, the blood running down. They kept the camera right on me. But I knew I was going to get it.
Pretty realistic stunt.
Yes.
But realistic stunts aren't in as much demand as they were in the heyday of westerns and television violence. So the best thing that can happen to a stunt person today is a steady job on one of the remaining action-packed television series. And Wonder Woman provided just that opportunity for Jeannie Epper. For the last year and a half, she's been the regular double for Linda Carter, the star of the show. She gets to do all of her favorite things.
I know my neighbors think I'm nuts. They say, what are you going to do today, Jeannie?
And what do you tell them?
Whatever's coming up. We're hit by a car or whatever. And then they wait to see what condition I'm going to come home in, of course.
Cut!
This is the Wonder Woman set. And here she is sizing up her assignment for the day. The script called for Wonder Woman to jump through a skylight. Her pay would be the day rate of $225, plus a negotiated bonus, something they call an adjustment, based on the difficulty of the stunt. Coincidentally, the director, Alan Crossland, was her director on that first fall off a horse 19 years ago.
Can we bring the airbag in now?
Ron Stein was the stunt coordinator.
As a rule, on a show of that size, or almost all your action shows today, you have a stunt coordinator who goes in and sets things up, pre-production. They set everything up beforehand. And normally, you depend quite a bit on this gentleman. He knows his work. So you don't really have to go in yourself and set it up. But we still do check things out.
What do you think? It's going to break you with the weight of my body anyway.
From that height, I think you'd be better off if you straddle it.
I straddle it?
Yeah, I really do.
Okay. What are they doing with that?
Yeah.
They're taking it back. They have to, it'll be in the picture.
That's what I'm jumping
The
on.
sky backings is
Do they know
a
what
postage stamp, that's all it is.
But they're moving that, and that's what.
Whoa, guys, be careful!
But that's what I'm jumping off of. Do they know that? They're taking my.
I don't think they... Okay. They do know that's what Jeannie's jumping off of. Come on down a little more. Tip it down. Oh, all right. We'll work it out.
We'll work it out.
I think the worst thing that can happen to a stunt person is to get ready and weather goes bad. Get ready, the camera goes bad, whatever goes bad. And then you really do, you start getting a little drained because you pump for it. I know I pump very, very, get ready, your adrenaline really builds up inside of you. You get right to the point of doing it and the director says, cut. Well, then you kind of come back down again. And, it drains you.
The airbag, which would cushion her fall, was properly inflated. And then up to the platform for the final stages of planning. The last-minute check to see what it looked like from above. Joining them was her friend and advisor, fellow stuntman Bob Yerkes.
Once you crash, once you hit it, you just remember to, once you break through it, then just stretch out for the mat.
Okay.
And don't fall forward. Try and, as you go down, concentrate on falling to your side.
Okay. You can't think negatively. Once you've set it up in the director hollers action, you better have it all together. You can't make a mistake.
And roll it! Action, Jeannie! Cut it! Jeannie?
You okay, babe?
All right. Here, give her a hand.
Well, you came through there like a ton of bricks. You all right?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Look. Don't rub. Need to make up. She's got glass in her face. Let's get that stuff off.
In general, how does your husband put up with this business?
He's been super. I don't think I could have gotten as far as I have if I hadn't been for Lee. He and I have sort of a pact. It's like he respects what I do. He knows I'm capable. And his attitude is, I don't want to come and watch you. Get it, honey. Call me from the hospital. And it's a very healthy attitude.
Okay. She's got a ton in her neck, all through.
Blow it off.
How do you answer people who say, you must be crazy to do this line of work?
Oh, I definitely think that is a piece of the ingredients.
Being a little crazy helps?
Being a little crazy definitely helps.
Jeannie Epper. What a loss. Another loss is Denise Ryan, who has sadly left us as well. Lovely person, Denise. I did have a number of conversations with Denise over the last few years. Super individual, really passionate about what she does. Great speaker as well, great talker, explaining her job very simply to people who may not know. Here's some work from hers. This is an episode of Howard's Way, if you remember that. She played a crew member on this yacht, a race scenario, and just as the boat starts to come around, she's holding a spinnaker, or holding the that's her there on the left of shot. She's holding this, and it will fly from her hand and will take her into the water. Now, you may think, well, it's just falling off a boat into water, and she's got to go, and it is travelling at some speed, and she's got to go, and whack, hits the water quite hard. It's a fair drop from the deck into the water. But now she's got to remain in the water for a period of time, because the story and the little bit of plot that they've got going on here suggests that they now have to throw out a buoy so she can swim to it, and they've got to go back. Now, yes, this is an alternative shot being filmed from elsewhere, but she's still in the water, and she's still in the sea. This is the real sea. This is not a backdrop. This is not a tank on a studio. This is her doing it for real. Out there, yes, she's been chosen because she has a background in swimming, and she knows exactly what she needs to do. She'll be wearing a wetsuit under there. There'll be all sorts of precautions taken, but nonetheless, not the easiest job. And from the edit, she makes it look remarkably simple. But I imagine that was a very busy day, or a couple of days' work to get that shot done. And it goes by in the blinking of an eye. Another television show is this.
Up there, look.
The Bill, from 1987. She is playing a character who is attempting suicide from the top of a multi-storey car park. The police officer then runs up the stairs, trying to get up there, hopefully before she does the job. Doesn't really go according to plan. We'll talk about the edit in a moment. It's not the greatest edit, but then maybe there was a budget issue as well. And because the train's going underneath and there's a long shot, obviously it needs to be a stunt performer. When she goes, chances are she is standing on some scaffolding at the bottom there. So she'd worked on lots of pictures, including Life Force, Pirates of the Caribbean, on Stranger Tides, Cruella, which was out not that long ago, World War Z was another one that she worked on, and of course Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Not only that, but she was also doubling for Brenda Blethyn in the driving sequences for Vera. She will be very sadly missed. There we go. I hope you enjoyed that. Brief, I know, and it's a great shame that these two have left us. We also found out not that long ago, in fact, this started this last week, that another stunt performer, Tony McFarr, left us at the age of 47, which is no age at all. And it's a great shame to lose anybody that young. And of course, our thoughts and prayers are with all of everybody's family and friends, Jeannie's, Denise's and Tony's. There will be an interview with Tony coming up, which I've discovered, and it's actually very, very good, and I think it is something that you should listen to. Sounds like a really nice guy. I wasn't aware of him. I hadn't met him or spoken to him in any shape or form, but there is an interview there which we will have a look at next week, and by next week I mean probably the end of this week. There is also the Taurus World Stunt Awards to take a look at. I put out a plea, if you remember, for anybody who was going or anybody who had access to any of the categories and bits and pieces to get in touch, because the Taurus had changed their membership rules or their access rules for content, and the response I had was absolutely staggering. So I will do that next week, and in the meantime there will also be something in connection with Vic Armstrong, because Vic was honoured on Saturday last by the 007 GB, the British James Bond fan club, with a Lifetime Achievement Award at the rather extraordinary Concord Centre in Manchester, having dinner underneath the Concord itself. Looked like a fabulous evening. I couldn't attend, sadly, because I was gigging with a band that night. I tell you what, when you're a muso, you've got to go out and do your thing, haven't you? Earn the crust and keep the sheriff away. But again, many terrific photographs and some great video footage. So we will have a look at that next week. Or later on this week. Force of habit saying next week. So until then, if you don't already subscribe, go ahead and do so. Plenty more content where that came from. The podcast on a Wednesday, the YouTube show, with a bit of luck, back to its usual Friday slot. And until next time, it's bye for now.